When I turned 62, it was the 50th anniversary of my puberty, so I decided to examine that and relive it as a girl this time instead of a boy. And I invented a character called Sally, which physically is like my sister, my older sister, Pat. Um, but she is not a good girl like Pat. She's sort of a mischievous girl like me when I was 12 years old. This is Sally slash me playing hooky from school and throwing a knife at a tree and then climbing the tree, and poor unaware Jack, my other character based on my father, is mowing this gigantic lawn which we did not have, and Sally pees off the tree. Hence I call this tree pee. This is Sally going to confession on Saturday afternoons, which is when children were supposed to go to confession. And the problem with that for me was I was usually at a Western movie um, matinee, and I had to leave that to go to confession. So Sally does this reluctantly, leaving Roy Rogers and all my real heroes behind to go and confess something. You notice I have, Sally has a handkerchief on her head. That was what girls and women had to do when they went to church, wear a hat or something on their head. I don't think that's true anymore. Anyway, she's saying her penance, and she sees this woman walk by the light, the window, and she can see right through her summer dress. And then afterwards, the light has reversed itself on the woman's butt. So it was kind of a miracle of light. Inappropriate for church, of course. Sally's coming home from school, and she has to stop at a public toilet for a second, and so she has her books and everything, and a woman's purple pumps walk past the door. She could see underneath the stall, and she hears that the woman goes into the next booth, next stall, and a lot of commotion there. And the woman's leg comes underneath the partition to Sally's surprise, and she does not see what we can see here, which is that the woman is throwing up in the toilet and is just wriggled out underneath. So Sally indeed was surprised. These are all of 46 by 60 inches on linen in oil. My heavier technique at that time. A little bit lighter here. This is Sally coming out of her house, which is my house back then when I was 12, and is confronted by this kind of beat up old Chevy, 39 Chevy coupe in front of her house. That was my car that I got when I was 17. And so she's seeing me, basically. The car is me. And she is me. She's on my bike, a boy's bike. That's why it's like the crossbar is between her legs. She drives over to the Chevy and looks in and sees and meets me even more because of the false teeth on the seat and coffee cup and my glasses, all forms of me. I can't be there physically because that would violate a Star Trek science fact that two versions of you cannot occupy the same space simultaneously. But symbolic versions of me and Sally could be together. Now, this is a beginning of a two-part image. This is the Sally in the city looking up at the Chevy flying onto her roof. This is in my loft in New York City, and so Sally's looking up at that. The size of this painting is smaller. It's 28 by 36 because it's supposed to accompany the larger painting as a separate piece. And I'm also painting it very thinly with a lot of turpentine in the oil paint, so it looks like watercolor. Gives it a particularly flat look, which I've grown to like. And it's all because of the character Sally. I was thinking more and more in terms of what a girl would like stereotypically. Now she climbs the ladder up to the roof to see what was going on. And she noticed, she obviously sees the Chevy with no driver. And out of natural Sally curiosity, she gets into the car. And in the background is the Empire State Building. I live on 28th Street, and that is visible from my roof. All the colors are changed except for the Chevy and Sally, because I just want to see color. I like color. And she's driving off the, oh, she's not driving, the car is driving off the roof into the void. At that time, we were having other buildings, and ours was having a problem with a landlord who claimed that we didn't live there and were illegal, and all it, so we went to court with that. And so far, so good. We've been able to stay. But I was thinking travel, have to go somewhere. This is a much earlier picture, probably about 2006 or so, and the paint is much heavier. It's about my father coming down into the cellar after supper to watch me paint. It was a kind of bonding thing. I'm 11 years old in this image, and as you can see, I'm 60, in my 60s, but I shrunk myself to 11 so I could feel the size and at least approximate a kid, even though I'm an old guy, you know. So I like doing that. It makes me laugh just to look at it, but it was fun. Now he's standing behind me, watching me paint, having a cigarette, and he'd say things like, "How about a little red over there, chair?" And I'd gladly do it. You know, this is not because he's an artist or anything. He was like a working class guy. In fact, he probably shouldn't even like art. That's that's the surprise, that he had no background at all. No, went as far as the 9th grade, and yet he's supporting his son who wants to be an artist, which really made the difference. He was like a spiritual guide, basically, you know. And he doesn't see an old man there. He sees the kid, and he doesn't see the painting I'm doing. He sees one of the pictures I did when I was a kid. So it's all my time travel. He would have been a great teacher. He was very supportive. Now this is my mother, the other half of the equation. Um, and this image is me coming up from the cellar at midnight. I'm 18 years old here, and my mom is having coffee. She's a night person, and I'm a night person. And we're going to sit down and have coffee and a cigarette and talk. And lots of times it would be stories that she would tell about her childhood or young adulthood. As a coal miner's daughter in the turn of the century, 19, she was born in 1902, and she was a great storyteller. She enjoyed telling stories. You could tell she would laugh and eyes would twinkle when she got to a part that she recalled that, that she just heard it for the first time. So that contributed to my sense of content in pictures. In fact, it's probably the major cause. So she didn't have that kind of hands-on, art, come down on the cell and look at the painting thing, or even seem that interested in my art once it was done. But she definitely contributed the content to my painting, and that's a big deal. This is even earlier. This is way back. That last painting was probably one of the last four I've done in oil until it was about 2008, 2009, probably 2009. Yeah. Now this one is the late 1980s, and it's of my father the night before he was going to die at work, unknown to himself. It was all a shock to everybody, of course. He had a heart attack at work. And I devised this method of hopefully making a time machine out of my pictures and visit him by using the premise of every artist knows the bottom layer of their work and that they paint on top of it. No one knows those layers because the top layer is all you see. So by painting where I wanted to go to and then ripping out of the bottom layer, I could be there. So that's what I'm doing at this moment. When my father's looking up, I don't know if he sees me or what, but it was a really interesting experience when I painted this. I mean, I enjoyed the new experience I had with my father. After my father died, I was 14, going to be 15 the next week. My mother had these dreams of him visiting, and at a certain time, he came to visit and said that he didn't think he'd be able to get back again. They were going to move him. But if she wanted to go with him, she could just go to the attic stairs and climb the attic stairs, and she could be with him. And my mom went to the attic stairs in a dream and was about to open the door to go up the stairs when she recalled that I was 15, my younger brother was 12, and she should stay and not go. And so she stayed, and she lived to be 89, which is 39 years later. And then she died, and then I did the painting of Mom, that one you just saw, which was acrylic on 46 by 60 of Mom finally climbs the attic stairs. This is a poster I did for SVA with my mother making dog cookies, and the dog is looking into the open oven, magically wondering what do these cookies come from? Reproductions of him. The saying on the poster was, "Art is ... So I decided, my mom was a great baker, that I would have her bake these dog cookies, which are reproductions of a real dog. And it was in the subways and on bus stops, and I enjoyed doing that. This is another poster for the School of Visual Arts. It's not the original. It's I did an oil painting of it later. Um, this is 23 by 34 inches, and I think the other one was the same. To keep that 2:3 ratio. Originally, I wanted to do a picture of Silas Rhodes, the founder of the school, coming up the stairs with a poster for me to do, and he didn't like the idea of founders' portraits, so I asked him if it was okay if I used my father, and I'd already done that in one poster, and he said, "Yeah, go ahead." So I did that, and these are my stairs, and my cat flesh, and myself. And later, people thought it was him, Silas. So he wanted the poster, so I gave him the original acrylic, and I redid it. And that's what we're seeing there. This is the oldest, or one of the oldest paintings, or second oldest painting. And that's 1990 or so. And it's a picture with my cat, me sitting on the fire escape, having a cup of coffee and a cookie, and the cat's out there, flesh, looking at the street cat that would come to visit, and I would feed him. And one day I picked up my cat Flesh and was showing him to the other cat. My cat was went nuts, like screaming. So I put him down. I never did that again. I had no intentions of frightening him. And the other cat was cool. He didn't say anything. Just waited for the food. This is going down into this an ex-girlfriend who was an art student of mine, coming down into my cellar back when I was a kid, which of course never could have happened. So it's all invented. Everything is from my head anyway. I don't use any references for the photo, for the images or anything. It's completely from my head. Anyway, she goes down the stairs and she sees us. I'm working on a painting, a lovey-dovey scene between us. And she lived with me for 5 years, so we had a good, long relationship, basically. And then I give her the power to say what she might want to say, or give her a voice. I mean, she would never touch my painting, so it has nothing to do with that. She's not that malicious, or not malicious, period. So I just imagining that she might have power to do what if she had a bad thought, she could do that. But like I said, it's all a state of my imagination. And this painting is relatively recent too, probably 2010.